A little soul was in front of me. My heart knew what was right, and I didn't hesitate. I just did what was right. And I can remember to this day so vividly like it was yesterday, because that's the day I became a wealthy man. I live in Venice, California, and there's a place called Marina del Rey just 3 miles away, and it's a very wealthy environment. And on the water, there's a place there called El Torito. It's a restaurant, it's still there. And it's very nice, it's on the water, boats going by, and they had an all-you-could-eat salad bar, taco bar. So I said, I'm gonna go there. So I didn't spend the money on my car for the gas for the 3 miles. I'll walk there. I'm not gonna pay for parking. I was monitoring every dime. Total scarcity. And I got there and I loaded up, ate everything I could possibly eat. And while I was sitting there eating, a door opened and a very attractive woman came in, and I was waiting to see who her boyfriend or husband was gonna be. And there wasn't a boyfriend or husband, there was a kid about this tall. And he was dressed in a suit, in a little vest. And he came in, he held the door open for his mom. He pulled out the chair and set her down. He was just such a gentleman. And then he stared in his mom's eyes, and he was just so, I don't know, just so loving, so there, so present. And it moved me. Even my selfish, little stupid place, I just moved by the love he had for his mom, the respect he had for his mom. I don't know what it was. But I went and paid the bill. And, you know, I don't know, I had $17, $18, $19 left, whatever it was. I put it in my pocket, you know, hang on to what little money I had left. I think it was like $5.95 for all you can eat in those days or something like that. And I walked up to this little boy. And I said, hi, and I shook his hand. I said, what's your name? And I don't really remember his name. I think it was Ronnie. He said, I'm Ronnie, I think it was. And I said, Ronnie, I said, you are such a gentleman. I said, I saw you open the door for your lady. I saw you pulled out the chair. I said, you are a class act. And he looked at me and goes, she's my mom. And I said, well, that's even better. He said, I said, well, it's so cool you're taking her to lunch like this. And he goes, oh, well, I can't really take her to lunch. I don't have a job yet. I'm just 11, right? And I said, well, I think he's 11. And I said to him, I said, well, yes, you are. You are taking her to lunch. He said, what do you mean? And I just reached in my pocket. I had no plan. There was no strategy. I just grabbed my money in my pocket. I put it right down on the table in front of him, change and all, dollar bills and all. And he looked up, his eyes got really big. I said, you are taking her to lunch. And he said, I can't take that. I said, sure you can. He said, why? I said, because I'm bigger than you are, right? And his eyes got this big and he smiled really big. And I didn't even look at the lady. I just shook his hand and I walked out. And I didn't walk out, I flew out. I had no car. I must have looked like an idiot. I'm sure I was skipping it to some extent. I was just like purely euphoric at the moment when I should have been the most freaked out. I mean, I just gave away my last dollar. I don't know where my next dollar, I don't have any money. I don't know where's my next meal gonna come from. Zero fear. It was like, I went home that night. I laid out this plan how I was going to turn things around, but you know, it wasn't going to turn around in a day or two. It might turn around a week or two. And I thought, well, people fast all the time. I'll go on a fast for a week. And I was positive about it. And I woke up the next day and I got my little normal snail mail on those days. And sure enough, there's this handwritten note. I open it up and there's your check inside. It's from the man that owed me $1,000 and not returned my phone calls for $1,000 plus some additional money, saying, I'm really sorry. And you were there for me, and I feel bad about it, and here it is. What was beautiful about the moment was, you know, I cried, honestly, and then I sat there and I looked at this thing and I thought to myself, you know, what does this mean? You know, why did this happen? And I don't know if it's true, but I chose to mean that money came because I did the right thing, because I didn't operate from scarcity, because a little soul was in front of me, my heart knew what was right, and I didn't hesitate. I just did what was right. And I can remember to this day so vividly like it was yesterday, because that's the day I became a wealthy man. That's the day that scarcity ended in me. And that didn't mean I didn't have more ups and downs financially. I had plenty of those, but I never ever went back to that place of being angry at somebody else who had more, or blaming other people. Whether they got what they did fairly or unfairly, who the hell am I to say? What I want to do is focus instead on being a blessing in people's lives. That if I could find a way every day to do something to add more value for other people, then I wouldn't have to worry about anything.
We're used to thinking about giving as something we should do, and it is. But in thinking about it this way, we're missing out on one of the best parts of being human, that we have evolved to find joy in helping others. Let's stop thinking about giving as just this moral obligation and start thinking of it as a source of pleasure.
very simple points why you should consider giving back to the community. The most important one, in my opinion, is the law of reciprocity. Let me tell you what's a law of reciprocity. I truly believe the more I give, the more I get in return. Not an expectation. I just feel good things happen to me the more I give. I'm a big believer of law of reciprocity. I don't know how I'm going to get this thing in return. Maybe one day someone's going to do something for my son, my daughter, my family, somebody close to me that is going to benefit me, but I believe in the law of reciprocity.
My mom and dad are yelling at each other. My mom's saying things to my father, "You haven't taken care of us." Pretty painful moment. And the door happens, and I go to open the door, and there's this tall guy standing there with these big bags of food, and on the ground beside him he had this pan with uncooked turkey. And he said, "Is your father here?" And I said, "Just one moment." And I sprinted to get my dad, thinking this was going to be the most euphoric moment you could possibly imagine. Like God had come by and surprised us, somebody cared about us, whatever you wanted to frame it. And my father came to the front door begrudgingly. When he saw the man, he got very angry. And he said, "We don't take charity." And he went to slam the door. And the man was a very tall guy, and he put his arm or shoulder against it. It kind of bounced off of him. And he said, "Sir, this is not charity. Everybody has tough times. And somebody knows you're in need, and they want you to have a beautiful Thanksgiving. Please accept this gift." And my father got even more intense and started saying, "I don't accept charity." And this time the man put his foot there, and it bounced off of it. And then he said something to my father that I thought my father would hit him. He looked at my father and said, and he looked at me in the background and said, "Don't let your family suffer because of your ego." It was intense words to say. My father didn't know what to do. He grabbed the food, he slammed it down and slammed the door. My father that day decided what to do was, if I failed and I've been worthless to my family, I must leave. And he did. And to me, it was the worst day of my life. I'll never forget it. I loved him more than anything. I had 4 fathers. He's the one I finally got attached to. We get to decide what to focus on. And my decision number 1 is, I want to focus on the fact there's food. What a concept. Pretty cool. But the most powerful thing to change my life was meaning. I said, what does this mean? Because my father had always said, my mother had always said, nobody cares. Don't care about anybody, they don't care about you. And that day I had physical evidence. Those you bringing food, I want you to know that's not just food. That's called love for someone. That's called hope for someone. That's called surprise for someone. And that day for me, I went, strangers care. And so I started caring about strangers. I realized that my worst day of my life was my best day.
The biggest reward is not financial benefits, though it's really good. You can get a lot of great shoes. Nothing wrong with great shoes. But those of you who have a lot of shoes know that having great shoes and a closet full of shoes or cars or houses or square footage doesn't fill up your life. It doesn't. But living a life of substance can. Substance through your service, your offering of your whole self. And the baseline for how do you live a life of substance is whatever is the truth for you. What do you stand for? When I had finished my school, and I was so proud of myself for building this school in South Africa, and I went to Maya and I said, Maya, that's going to be my greatest legacy, the school. And Maya said, you have no idea what your legacy will be. I go, I know that, but I really do think that the school's gonna, be my greatest legacy. And she goes, you have no idea. So I go, yes, ma'am. She said this, and I leave this with everybody in the room, graduates, friends of graduates, family. She said, your legacy is every life you've touched. Your legacy is every life you've touched.
I don't think the biggest benefit is just money being given away, although money you need to give away because some organizations need money to do their work that they do. This is why my number 1 point on how to give back is to teach a new skill set. Teach a new skill set. Go help somebody and give back to your community by teaching something you're very, very good at. Teach somebody else how to do it. What could that be? I don't know. how to get ready for a job interview. Go and teach people how to be prepared for a job interview. Go and sit down with 50 people and tell them, I'm going to interview you, and you're going to know exactly what types of questions you're going to ask, and I'm going to prepare you on how to ask those questions. Great. Give back by teaching people how to put a resume together. Give back by sitting down and teaching somebody how to sell something. Give back by teaching some kind of a new skill set that you have, social media, whatever it is. But give back to your community by teaching something you know. Could be music, could be piano, could be guitar. It doesn't matter. Free lessons for soccer for kids. It doesn't matter. Somehow, some way, give back and teach a new skill set, because that lasts. That lasts. I think skill set lasts, and it generates and gives them freedom.
Here's what I've learned about mentorship. Mentorship is not something you ask somebody to do. Like, will you be my friend? It doesn't work like that. When you find somebody you get along with, you share values, you share beliefs, you spend time with them, you get to know them, you develop trust, you're vulnerable with them, you open up to them, and you discover that you become friends. It's what happens. You start off as simply acquaintances. In my experience, mentorship is exactly the same. There were people who were much more experienced than me, who had wisdom that I didn't have, and when I would call them, they would take my calls. And when I would ask them questions, they would always take the time to give me answers. And over the course of time, they became my mentors, like they became my friends. And I remember one time I was with one of my mentors, Ron Bruder, an amazing guy, and I was leaving his house, and I put my arm around him, and I said, I'm glad you're my mentor. And he looked at me and he said, I'm glad you're mine. And it caught me completely off guard. And true mentorship, like true friendship, is not a one-way street. It's not about one person only giving advice to the other. Both people are showing up to give, and both people are showing up to learn.
You see, we all have values that guide our lives, whether you realize it or not, whether it's conscious or subconscious. And thanks to the consumerist culture that many of us grew up in, our values are centered around more, around wanting more stuff. And one of our biggest challenges with reducing waste is realizing that our immediate needs, or desires, I should say, often outweigh our understanding of how harmful these seemingly innocent and deeply embedded actions can be. See, we're hardwired to want to do what feels good, what's easy, accessible, popular, and fashionable. And living with a zero waste value system puts all of that into question. It's really like reprogramming your brain. You're essentially recreating these reward feedback loops based on new associations that are now centered on the overall environment and the creatures that we inhabit the earth with, as opposed to just yourself and your immediate surroundings. So this is going to take time, it's going to take practice, and it's going to take some drilling. It's not always going to be easy, but if you're reminded every day, like I know you are, of all of the issues that human consumption is causing, then you're gonna want to change.
So Bea also wrote a book called Zero Waste Home. And in that book, she talks about the 5 R's. And you might be thinking, 5? I only know 3. Well, Bea includes 2 others. And those 5 R's are refuse what you don't need, reduce what you do need, reuse what you actually consume, recycle what you can't refuse, reduce, or reuse, and finally, rot, so compost the rest. And these 5 R's have really helped me to reduce the waste that I produce.
Every time you spend your money buying something that is disposable, you use it, then throw it away. It's literally throwing your money away. Or a portion of that trip you've always wanted to take, or that retreat you've always wanted to go on. On the other hand, when you eliminate single use from your life, when you buy without packaging and you stop accepting freebies, then you vote for a healthier, more sustainable, unpackaged world for our children. But better yet, you'll discover a better you. You'll free yourself from the fictitious needs that the marketers have created in our society. You will no longer spend time and money buying and disposing of items, but focused on what matters most. You'll have time to spend with friends, with family, a hobby. You'll have money to fund your dreams.